Hello everyone, this is Srikanti and today we are going to begin exploring model of psychology that is both practical and deeply human, the human Givens approach. Let's begin by introducing the human Givens approach, which is one of the most integrative and human-centered models in psychology. At its core, the human Givens approach is based on the idea that all human beings are born with a set of innate emotional needs and an inbuilt resources, which we might call Givens, that are like basically that guide us towards a mentally healthy and fulfilling life. Now, these needs include things like connection, autonomy, meaning, meaning and security. And what when these needs are consistently met in healthy ways, we function well. And when they are blocked or unmet, that's when emotional distress tends to show up. So, what's unique about this model is that it's not just limited to one school of thought. It draws from cognitive psychology, behavioral science, neuroscience, psychodynamic theory, and even humanistic principles. Now, the goal isn't just understanding, but also healing and growth. Now, this approach is also solution focused, meaning it doesn't just diagnose what's wrong, it works to restore the balance by helping people meet their needs more effectively. Now, therapists and educators who use the human givens model often focus on equipping the individuals with the tools to take back control of their lives gently but powerfully. So, as we walk through this approach together, I want you to think about your own experiences too. Ask yourself, which needs in my life feel fulfilled? Which ones might be unmet right now? Now, that reflection will help you connect more personally with what we are about to explore. Now, as we begin our journey into the evolution of psychology, it is important to see to see it not as a rigid history, but as a living timeline, a reflection of how our understanding of human behavior and the mind has expanded over time. Now, let us start at the beginning of the 20th century with behaviorism. Now, at this stage, psychology became more scientific, focusing only on what could be observed and measured, which is behavior. Now, think of the names like B.F. Skinner and John Watson. Now, emotions, thoughts, and inner experiences were seen as too subjective or were largely ignored. Then came the psychoanalysis, led by Sigmund Freud, which turned things inward. Now, Freud proposed that much of a behavior is driven by unconscious motives, often shaped by early childhood experiences. While controversial, the school introduced lasting ideas like defense mechanisms and the importance of unresolved inner conflict. But by the 1950s, there was a shift, a desire to explore the positive side of the human experience, and this led to the rise of the humanistic psychology, pioneered by the figures like Rogers and Abraham Maslow. Now, this school emphasized that self-actualization, personal meaning, and the belief that people have an innate drive to grow and improve. And in the 1960s, psychology made another major turn with the cognitive revolution. Psychologists began to study the mind again, how we perceive, remember, think, and solve problems. Now, this movement brought back the study of the mental processes, using insights from both behaviorism and psychoanalysis to understand how we interpret the world. As we move into the late 20th centuries, psychologists realized that no single approach was complete on its own. Now, this led to the development of the integrative approaches, where theories and techniques from different schools were combined to provide more flexible and holistic environment. And presently, in the contemporary era, we see a field that is incredibly diverse, drawing on neuroscience, trauma studies, mindfulness, cultural psychology, and more. Now, the focus now is often individualized care, where techniques are adapted to fit the person, not the other way. not the sorry, not the other way around. So this timeline isn't just history; it's a reflection of how psychology continues to evolve with new insights, research, and human needs. Now that we have introduced the human givens approach, let's begin unpacking its core concepts, starting with with our innate emotional needs. Now, these needs are universal. Every person, regardless of age, culture, or background, requires them to be met in order to maintain mental and emotional health. Now, let us begin with the first of foundational needs: security and stability, and emotional intimacy and support. Now, security and stability are about feeling safe both physically and psychologically. Now, this doesn't just mean being free from danger, it also means having predictability in life, knowing where you will sleep tonight, knowing that your basic needs are met, and that your environment isn't just constantly chaotic. Well, when we lack this kind of stability, the brain stays in the state of high alert. Now, that stress response wears down our ability to think clearly, build trust, and regulate emotions. Now, the second need we will focus on today is the emotional intimacy and support. Humans are wired for connection. We need we need to feel that at least one person truly understands and accepts us. Now, obviously, emotional intimacy doesn't necessarily mean romantic type, but it also means the closeness, empathy, and being seen for who you really are. When this need is met, it becomes a powerful buffer against stress and loneliness. And when it's lacking, people can start to feel isolated, invisible, or emotionally numb. Now, here's the key idea: when these needs, security and connection, aren't fulfilled, the mind begins to adapt in unhealthy ways. We might develop anxiety, become overly controlling, or withdraw from others, not because we are broken, but because we are trying to cope up. Now, let us take a closer look at how the concept of opportunity cost, in which we often hear in economics, can actually be applied to psychology and therapy. Now, in psychology, opportunity cost refers to what we are potentially giving up when we make one therapeutic choice over other. Now, it's about asking, if we pursue this path, what other options are we setting aside? And more importantly, is the trade off worth it in the long run? Now, this slide basically offers a practical checklist to help us stay grounded in that mindset, especially if you're supporting others or planning your own growth journey. Now, let's go through it. Now, ev- evaluate choices in therapy. Now, before jumping into any intervention or technique, take time to consider why you're choosing it. Now, what's the intended outcome? Are there any alternative strategies that might work better? Consider emotional needs first. A key principle of the human givens approach is that unmet emotional needs often underlie psychological distress. So rather than focusing on symptoms, we ask which emotional needs aren't being fulfilled, and that will give us a clearer path forward. And acknowledging potential trade offs. Now, every choice has a cost. Maybe developing independence means stepping back from a comforting but a dependent relationship, or maybe focusing on career advancement temporarily affects social life. Now, naming these trade offs helps us make more informed, intentional decisions. Focus on the long term benefits. Sometimes therapy or change brings short term discomfort, but ask yourself, is this guiding me towards long term resilience and balance? These best choices often aren't the easiest, but they're the ones that pay off with time. And last but not the least, integrate with client goals. Whether you're a therapist or a supporting friend, or supporting a friend, always come back to the individual's values and vision. Now, is this choice aligned with what they truly want in life, not just today but long term? Now, These action step help these action steps help ensure our decisions, both in therapy and in daily life, are thoughtful, values driven, and effective. Now, let's keep these in mind as we continue exploring how to meet the emotional needs more holistically. Now, let us break down three of the most essential emotional needs identified by the Human Givens framework: security, connection, and autonomy. Now let us start with security needs. Now this is about having a safe environment, both physically and emotionally. When people don't feel safe, their brain goes into the survival mode, and it's really hard to focus on anything else, like schools, relationships, and even self-reflection. But when that safety net is there, you start to see resilience building and anxiety dropping. And what's great is you often don't have to wait long. Positive change can show up in just a few weeks with the right support systems. Next are connection needs. Humans are wired to connect. We thrive on the healthy relationships with family, friends, teachers, mentors. Now, these relationships provide not only emotional support but also a sense of belonging. Now, when these needs are met, we see better mental health outcomes, less depression, more hope, and stronger coping skills. But unlike security, connection tends to build more gradually. It can take months to strengthen or rebuild trust and intimacy in relationships. Finally, we have autonomy needs. Now, this is all about choice, having control over your own life and decisions. Autonomy gives people the power to shape their future. It's deeply tied to personal fulfillment and long-term well-being, but it also takes the longest to develop. It grows through small steps like making decisions, learning from mistakes, and setting boundaries and following through. It can take months or even years to fully form, especially if someone has grown up in environments where independence wasn't encouraged. So think of these needs like building blocks: safety first, then connection, and then the freedom that comes with autonomy. Now, just like anything meaningful, they don't develop overnight, but with the right environment and support, they become the foundation for lifelong mental health. Now, on this slide, we are bringing the two powerful psychological perspectives together, which are the human beings and the humanistic psychology. Now, let us begin with the human givens approach. Now, obviously, this model is grounded in the ideas that all humans are born with a set of innate emotional needs, which I have talked about it a few slides before, like the need for safety, connection, and meaning. When these needs are not met, emotional distress often follows. Now, what I love about this framework is how practical it is. It's not just about theory, it's designed to help people restore balance in their lives quickly and sustainably. Now, over on the other side, we have the humanistic psychology, a more philosophical and growth-oriented approach. Now, humanistic thinkers like Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow focus heavily on the self-actualization, the idea that we all have the potential to grow into our best fulfilled selves. Now, it emphasizes things like authenticity, purpose, and personal meaning. So, where do they overlap? Now, the center space in the Venn diagram shows us the heart of the integration. Both approaches emphasizes personal growth and fulfillment. Whether we are talking about meeting emotional needs or unlocking their human potential, both frameworks believing in people's capacity for change, resilience, and transformation. And this integration is powerful because it allows us to see the mental health not only through the lens of what's missing, like the unmet needs, but also through the lens of what's possible, like our growth, meaning, and purpose. So as you reflect on this slide, think about how both perspectives might apply to your own life, or even how they could be used together in counseling, teaching, or personal development. Now that we have explored the individual emotional needs in the given humans approach, now this slide helps us zoom out and see how it fits together. Now, one of the core strengths of this approach is that it doesn't just look at the mental health as a set of symptoms. It also sees as well-being as a imbalance of the interconnected emotional needs. Now think of it like a mobile hanging from the ceiling. When one need like security or connection is out of balance, it affects everything else. And that's why this framework is so effective. It helps us identify not what's missing and not just what's wrong. So let's take an example. If someone is feeling anxious, it's easy to just treat the anxiety. But the human givens approach invites us to look deeper. Do they feel unsafe in their environment? Are they lacking meaningful relationships, or do they feel they have no control or autonomy? Or autonomy in their life. So, when we start asking these questions, we're not just managing the anxiety, we're solving the root causes. And we need to address those needs. The symptoms will naturally begin to fade. So this approach is also heavily inspired by the humanistic psychology, which again emphasizes the things like personal meaning, growth, and potential. Now, it believes people aren't just trying to survive; they're trying to thrive. And to do that, we need to give them tools, insight, and support to fulfill their emotional needs in sustainable, healthy ways. So, as we tie this all together, remember, we're not just trying to help people feel better, we're trying to help them live better with clarity, connection, purpose, and self trust. So here's the quick recap of this lesson. So the key concepts and insights from the presentation talks about the understanding the core emotional needs, the connection to the humanistic psychology, the importance of the opportunity cost. We have also talked about the integration of the existing psychological theories, and last but not the least, philosophical takeaways for personal growth. And yeah, thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.